aboard the CXO 2.0 conference. I am Nashi Singh. I'm a sports presenter by profession, but today I am thrilled to be your navigator and presenter for the CXO 2.0 conference. Now, it's great to have you all with us here today as we dive into the world of business innovation and leadership. This international conference is all about bringing together smart, forward-thinking people who are ready to shake things up. Now, we've got an amazing lineup of speakers who are leaders, thinkers, and game changers who are eager to share their knowledge and inspire you all. Our heartfelt shout out to our esteemed participants. Your expertise and insights are crucial to the fabric of this conference, so thank you. And do engage online with our online community for the CXO 2.0 conference using hashtag CXO2Conf. We'll write it down somewhere so that you can remember that. All right, now let's get things started. We're thrilled to kick off our first session of the day. Today, we delve into an invigorating topic: embracing change, developing adaptive strategies in a VUCA volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Now, in our rapidly evolving environment where unpredictability is the only certainty, this topic challenges us to think critically about our responses to change. Very important. It urges us to consider how businesses can remain flexible, resilient, and forward-thinking in the face of challenges. This is going to be interesting. So without further ado, let's welcome our moderators, Greg Williams, who is the Master Negotiator and Body Language Expert at the Master Negotiator. And co-moderating with Greg today will be Dr. Soha Imam, who is the Strategic Consultant at Ministry of the Presidential Affairs. Also, can we please have our panelists on the stage as well? Jessica Atkinson, PMP, CMP, CSM, CEO of Will Be Effect. Nell Puita, CEO and founder of Calm Confidence Academy. Abdulaziz Mohammed Aldomaiji, Chairman, Board of Directors of Thermes Capital. And Simon Taylor, co-founder of Third Curve. Lovely. Over to you, Greg.
Hello. Hello.
Time.
Mine is not.
Who's moderator? Who's moderator? You.
No. Oh, we don't have a moderator? Interesting. We don't need one. We don't need one. We don't need one.
Let me ask you a quick question. First of all, good morning. And welcome to one of the greatest countries in the world. Now, my question is, did you see uncertainty there? Was that your perception? Today, me and my esteemed colleagues, who have graciously allowed me to actually join them, will be discussing VUCA, what it really means, and what it is that you can learn about mastering any environment that you're in. The other point that I'm going to make is, you may hear something that does not align with what you currently think about VUCA. To that I say, keep an open mind, new knowledge will enter. Now we're going to have Jessica give you more insight about VUCA.
Why not? Why not? Well, definitely, hello everyone. We'll go around and do introductions as well, but definitely just wanted to open up with VUCA. Some of us haven't even heard that term before. You know, we're looking at volatility, uncertainty, right? We're looking at, what else? Complexity and ambiguity. And essentially, this is actually a term that comes from the 1980s in the United States, and specifically from our military, from the Army. And it was in reference to some of the work being done in Afghanistan around everyday being uncertain and different. And the terminology was used to help support the military through those types of ambiguous days. And with that, there was an evolution to create this term, and it was introduced into businesses as they also experienced an element of ambiguity and uncertainty in the VUCA world, as it's called. And we'll talk a little bit about how this is relevant in business, and hopefully even get to how this is relevant in regards to how has a VUCA evolved since the 1980s.
So we pretty much are just going to run that kind of a chit-chat thing. It's not going to be like a panel. I'd like to address a question to Neil, since she's coming back from a positive psychology background, and I'm very intrigued with this kind of title. So in this evolving world, and those lots of changes are happening around, and people perceive that kind of change, or VUCA in a different word, the chaos that we're living in, because we are the chaos of people who lived in the 20s. If I'm not, if someone who's in a coma or something and just woke up in this era, who go like, are those crazy people? So psychologically, the way we perceive that kind of changes and the speed of things happening around us differ from one person to the other. And some, if not the majority, are taking that negatively. How can we turn that into a positive vibe and thrive to go forward?
A very good question. Thank you for that question. Well, in positive psychology, we have something, the background, like, okay, there is some events happening. Why some people will get resilient and strong through these challenges, and some kind of break through the challenges. And based on some scientific research, we say, okay, it's nature, nurture, 50-50. So there are a lot of factors, you know, of course, the DNA, but also the bringing the childhood, the school, and the culture, and all of that. However, anyone can learn optimism, and in positive psychology, there is something called perma-lead, positive leadership. So even though in the VUCA world, of course, there will be negative things happen. You know, we cannot just say, okay, positive psychology is all just happy world, and everyone is like, you know, smiling faces. No. The reality is, like, we have everything. The question is, how do we deal with those negative aspects, challenges, and how do we get resilient, bounce back, and bounce through that? And there are tools, techniques, practices where everybody can learn that.
May I add a note? It's my pleasure to be with you today, but VUCA World deals with an outside environment. And if you concentrate in this item or element only and forgot the internal environment, you will be failed.
Intro.
Start with the induction. Introduction for each one of us.
Yes.
Do you want to know us, guys?
Do you guys really want to know who we are?
Well,
No, of course.
a
of
quick
course.
one, because again, we would like to have this as an interactive session. If you've got any questions for us, please address it to us. That would be really crazy to do, but lovely. My name is Dr. Soha. I come back from a communication background, and I currently do strategic communication with the Presidential Affairs Office on various projects.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Simon Taylor. I'm with Curve. I'm in construction, so kind of railroad, transportation, big infrastructure projects. I'm also a researcher and an author on project management theory and practice as well.
Hello, everybody. Jessica Atkinson, CEO for the Will Be Effect. Essentially, that's based off of an acronym, I will be fearless, I will be unstoppable. And it's in reference to focusing on transformation. So my background is as a triple certified project management, change management, and also the Scrum. So essentially, how do we help subject matter experts pull out their most excellent levels of leadership and alignment? A minute. We have a minute. We have a minute. That was the plan. But what I did want to highlight as far as my organization, we also do public speaking on concepts of leadership and project management for corporations and also for universities. So definitely a pleasure to be here.
Hi, my name is Nel Putte. I'm founder of Confidence Academy, where we help leaders and teams develop psychological capital. How do we do that? We do that through confidence mindset system and also the concept of positive leadership. And both of that has its roots in positive psychology. So my background is in business administration and also positive psychology. So I'm sitting in kind of sweet spot where I could think about ideas and implement them. Okay, how do we bring positive psychology into the business?
Hi, I am Abdul Aziz Al Domegi from Riyadh, City of the Future, City of Expo 2030. My journey went 3 stages. First, pure government entity, Ministry of Finance, about 20 years. Then semi-government entity, Saudi Post, for 10 years, end up with CFO. Then the private part, now I am a chairman of Termiz Capital, FinTech Capital, and I work as an independent financial consultant and arbitrator.
My name is Greg Williams. I'm known as the Master Negotiator and Body Language Expert. I've written 7 books on that topic, and I've been ranked number 6 out of the top 30 negotiators in the world by Global Gurus, and number 14 out of the top 30 in the world in body language. My passion is truly in helping individuals obtain better outcomes by being able to negotiate better. I have clients literally throughout the world for which I do that. Sometimes I actually negotiate on their behalf because my motto is, you're always negotiating, and it's truly an honor to be with you today. So let me toss another question out to anyone in the panel that wants to address it, and that is, from a management perspective, what type of chaos have you seen occur, et cetera?
If we go far from VUCA words, I really want to focus in busy day for the leaders. Don't get in this trap. You are a strategic person. If you go to the daily work, you will think. My experience with my last leader, I spent with him 10 years. He never, ever asked me, why do I hire this person and fire this person? And never asked me, why do this role, this action, and why do not this action? But at the first day of the year, we sat together and study the business plan, what approved from the board, and break the targets. And he said to me, go to your field. Every month we sit together and see where are we. This is the leader, the true leaders. The leaders need time to think, to close his eyes and make a vision, make clear vision. And another aspect I want to emphasize to the risk management. Please consider this aspect.
I would definitely love to jump in here in regards to the VUCA world and management. Part of the motto for my organization is around embrace authenticity, awaken greatness. And when we lean into who we are as people, when we're operating our business under a people-first model versus results at all cost, right? We're faced with global changes, market changes, regulatory changes, the competitiveness of our different industries. Focusing on the people and allowing them to create a safe space, a psychological safe space, where, just as was mentioned here, around the ability to thrive, for the opportunity to grow and spread our wings, right? And to lead people who are experts into actually being able to do what they do best. And oftentimes, when we're under the heat and under the stress, we start to we actually condense our ability to come up with innovation. And so I definitely encourage, from a management perspective, to hold the weight of the dynamics of the financial need to change, right? And allow your team to maintain the ability to thrive towards their excellence.
Yeah, so it's a really difficult time in complex projects, and I've been sort of thinking about what made, when we've all had those successful projects and kind of what got you across the line. And so when we do infrastructure, the idea is societal outcomes, right? So we want people to be better, we want people to move around, and everything's kind of, like achieving growth. But whilst that's a noble cause, I remember that when the projects that I were really successful had a really awesome leader there, right? So I had Bill and, and I just remember whenever I was going above and beyond, I was doing it for them. It felt like, I didn't want to let them down, right? And I was, so there's all those sorts of things where you go, I've got to make the right decision, and I know I've got to get this project done, and I really don't want to let them down. And that was a mindset that I saw in the team, right? And I feel that because we try and do so much now with projects, we're in the capital of construction here, right? There's so much stuff going on, and everyone's trying to do so many things. It's really difficult to pinpoint that kind of like, what's going to get me out of bed in the morning, right? How am I going to go forward? There's not enough, people look to you for instruction, but the reality is the world changes so much, right? That you go, well, instructions are meaningless almost 5 minutes after you've said them. So how do you get back to the core of someone that makes them want to go, I'm going to go in that direction because it's the right direction, and I want to do it for you, right? For us. And in a post-pandemic world where we're on Zoom and Teams, and you look at everyone, and so we met before, right? So we're best friends now, but it's not the same, So how do you inspire, the people who are going to do the work, put themselves in danger, in harm's way in certain instances? Why are they going to really do it for you, And how do you get that across when we're all these little TV screens on a monitor? And that's a really difficult place to be.
Yeah, I agree. I always like to take a different perspective when it comes to the comms and being a very human being, just a simple human who's sometimes scared of, you have the plan for tomorrow, but you're not sure if you're going to live tomorrow or not. But we have everything that is in place. And then through my journey, I read that book. It's called The Dark Side of Leadership. And it was a transformational moment in my life that was like 7, 8 years back. And after reading that book, being in that VUCA, and I'm a very organized person, and if I do a plan and one element or task that I cannot tick, I go crazy and mad, and everything needs to be in order. When I read that book, I started with communicating with myself. Calm down, have that kind of composure, understand what's happening, have a look, that moment, kneel a little bit so that you get to understand the entire environment. And I came up with the concept, with that internal comms with myself, because we do not communicate with ourselves enough. So, okay, and we do not communicate with the stage apparently enough, but so it's exactly. So I came up with a personal concept that has changed me a lot. And I call it, whenever there is a VUCA, E is the key. 10 main characteristics. If you were able to acquire in practice on a daily basis, I don't think you're going to feel that you live in that VUCA world. The first one, if you allow me to read it for you, enthusiasm. Whenever I'm scared and panic, I just direct it positively, psychologically. Okay, I'm scared, but I'm going to have that kind of enthusiasm to go forward and see what is behind that door with no fear, since I have the strength and knowledge. And then I charge the energy towards that direction or solution or that opportunity. That's the energy. And then I do the needed, or I exert the needed effort towards what I want. And then by time I become experienced, and then I become efficient, and people come to me. And when they come to me, you turn to be an expert in what you're doing, because you see the different reactions. My daughter goes through a situation, she panics, but I've been through that 3-4 times. So I go, there's no need to worry. You can do this and that. And then you're going to be effective in what you do. So at the beginning, you're panicking, overwhelmed, but at the end, on the journey, you're just going to be very effective. And then if you're smart enough, you're going to start doing earnings. You're going to earn from that. So you're not panicking like the rest of the people. We've noticed that during the pandemic, a lot of people lost and closed their businesses, and a lot of people earned millions, if not billions. And then those earnings need to be attached to an ethical aspect. Never lose it. And the most important thing in the journey is to enjoy. These are the 10 main characteristics throughout my personal experience. I don't fear VUCA anymore. I am organized in a chaotic environment. I'm still functioning perfectly. Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things I just, thank you, one of the things I would like to let all of you know is there's a microphone situated right up front, which should not startle anyone. But please, if you have questions, step up to the microphone and pose them to us, because we're really trying to give you the insights and information that you need that will allow you to improve the environments that you're in. And I'd also like to just pick up on what was said a moment ago, as far as how do you really get a team of people pulling in the same direction. Now, surprise, I speak about that from a negotiation and reading body language perspective. And I say that to say, it starts with positioning. How do you position any type of activity that you want others to buy into such that they see the benefits in it for themselves? From that perspective, you check constantly to make sure that the degree of uncertainty is eliminated. When you eliminate uncertainty, you then increase the probability that people will pull together more. And then the negotiation process, which has already started, will kick in the minds of some individuals that did not realize that they were already negotiating. So I say all of that to simply say, think about how you do, what you do, the impact that it has on those that you would call your allies, and to what degree do you get them to buy into any activity that you want them to, based on showing them the benefits to them for doing so. And please, if you have questions, line up.
I have a question, Greg, for you. Are there certain body language or face gesture sign, since this is your area of expertise, that can tell you that that person is not comfortable, is worried? Are there these kind of, okay, go ahead. Okay, look at this. Look at this. We're having a live demonstration.
There are a lot of indications that you can pick up when somebody's speaking to you. Someone says, I really like you, and some of you may have caught that, I really like you, and at the same time, I'm pulling back. What about word choice? Someone says, that sounds good to me. They're speaking from an auditory perspective, and the response comes back, well, that looks fine to me. There's a disconnect there. It's very small, auditory, visual. So even if you want to communicate, or I should say, when you want to communicate better with someone, use the same level of speech from which they're communicating. And the converse is true. If you want to break that communication to try and get them to follow your lead, you change it and observe how they respond via their vocal cues. Thank you for the question.
I think we have someone.
Thank you. Repeat that, please. Okay. Okay, 3 tips? Okay. Um, the question was, okay, the question was when negotiating with a bully, what tips would I give? And here's something I'll say a lot of times. It depends. And the reason I say it depends is because it depends on the type of individual with whom you're engaging. Oh, a narcissist. Well, even then it depends because there are degrees of narcissism. But nevertheless, the thing is, you want to understand where they're coming from, why they have adopted certain positions. From a mental perspective, once you understand exactly their modus operandi, as it were, you can then either match, choose to be neutral, or choose to become dogmatic. So, for example, if you and I were engaging right now, and I wanted to alter your perspective, I might say something about, okay, so what? Notice the silence, number one, the dead space, and I would not say another word if we had to stay here for the rest of the evening until you responded. That would give me more input about what your thoughts were, and then I'd address it from that perspective. Shout it. No. Oh, that's a big myth. Oh, gosh. Well, okay, I want to address the first part of that, and then I'll let the panel chime in also. A lot of people think from a negotiation perspective, the person that speaks first is the one that loses. Not necessarily so. If you are a better negotiator than I am, and I have the perspective that, oh, well, whoever speaks first loses, and you speak first, you've now created the image in my mind of, oh, I got you, like that. Meanwhile, you've just put me in a position where you can maneuver me any kind of way you want. So again, it depends on the perspective and the situation that you're in, such that you know where it is that you've planned to go in the negotiation, why you're going to go there, the detours you'll take to get back on track should you be pulled off it, and to what degree you want to give the impression that you're being pulled off track. Someone else want to comment?
I wanted to chime in here. I think it's a great question to talk about bullying. I think that even expands to microaggressions, right? Unconscious bias. And these are important parts of why VUCA world becomes such a powerful thing. As I mentioned earlier, this terminology comes from the 1980s, but there's actually an evolution of this terminology called Bonnie. And the reason that we have this evolution of this term is actually because what was identified is that what was the more important thing was the emotional effect of the disruption, right? The Bonnie, I do remember at least the first two, is brittle and anxiety, right? And speaking on that note, from that emotional response, and we look at microaggressions, my advice as a woman, I live in the US, but I'm an immigrant. I'm originally from the Republic of Panama. And what I can speak to here is the fact that, you know, as a Black woman as well, want to be able to highlight microaggressions. What do? Happens all the time. Unconscious bias happens all the time. What if they're your boss? What if they're your coworker? What if that's the culture of the company, right? This is where our fear, and then we develop oftentimes into an imposter syndrome. What I would recommend, and this is from my experience and my journey, is first, we need to know our core values. And so every morning when I wake up, I say my 5 core values. There's about, let's say, 130 of them. But I know what are my core values, the things I'm not willing to sacrifice, right? And once I know what I'm not willing to sacrifice, then I can design the goals towards that. And those goals will then dictate the decisions that I make in the moment. So as far as microaggressions, what I often do is use the why. Well, why do you think, you know, my hair changing from yesterday to tomorrow is an issue? You know, and when you put the question on them and they have to respond, then we're now going to get to the root cause. So I often use questions to kind of destabilize a bully.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you for the question.
May I add, why do we concentrate in the VUCA award? Go back to 2008, the financial crisis. Each entity, small, big, was suffered from this crisis. And a lot of entities disappeared. 4 years ago, COVID-19, a lot of business go out. But we should be ready and have a plan B or C or etc. to be adapt with the new situation.
We have another question. I'm sorry, and what's the question?
Yeah.
I'll answer briefly, and then I'll turn it over to one of you.
No, this is all you, man. This is
People
all you.
people are always negotiating. Even if they don't want to, you can allow them to feel comfortable in thinking they're not negotiating. Simon?
Sometimes, if I can add to that particular point, the question is why, where's the person who's asked the question? Why don't they want to negotiate? That is the question that you need to ask yourself. If you're smart enough, you're going to pick up the answer right away, and then you're going to stimulate, provoke something for him to negotiate. It could be a comment that you say on your way out of the room. Hey, excuse me, stop back, what did you say? It could be anything. Because sometimes people, again, VUCA thing plays around in the environment. People are kind of scared. I don't want to confront. I don't want to lose. There are lots of fears and different layers depending on the person that you're talking to. Maybe he's someone who doesn't like to confront. Maybe he sees that you're stronger than him. Maybe he feels that he's gonna win and he's not having fun in that kind of negotiation. So there are lots of reasons. If you know that, and again, communication here is core. If you know whom you're talking to, choosing the right time, being very selective in the vocabulary that you choose for that kind of conversation, he's definitely going to negotiate back. And always have that kind of win-win. So it's not always, if you're well known for a win-lose, no one is going to negotiate with you. And again, lots of other factors can interfere here. If people, maybe you're aggressive, maybe you're loud, maybe you swear, maybe you're, things that people don't like in the way you communicate with them, this is why they do not want to negotiate. If you got the answer for why, you got the negotiation deal.
I'll just bring up something so I do some research in relational risk, and some of the things we looked at where, you know, people were not getting on well, weren't working well as a team, it came back to organizational governance. And governance is a bit like, you know, you carve through the bedrock of the earth and you look at all the disasters that have happened. And your organizations will have a lot of compliance, there's legislation, there's a lot of rules. Have you ever had someone saying, I really want to do this, but I can't, right? The contract says I can't, or, you know, or I can't approve that. Someone else above me has to approve that, and that person is going to take a lot of time. And you find you want to work well together, but there's all these operational things standing in the way. And I think it's important to recognize that in some instances where someone doesn't want to negotiate, or they appear to be, you know, looking for themselves or others, it might actually not be because it's who they are, it's because of the rules that they follow within their organizations. And Abdulaziz, you mentioned adapt, right? Adaptive. And the least adaptive system is a complex organizational governance system, you know, heavily regulated. And we can all say, we want to do better, and we want to work better together, and we want to, you know, mutually beneficial. We want them to win, but you might actually have a commercial relationship that doesn't allow that to happen. And so in the work that, you know, in the work that we do, it's really difficult when you go to an organization and say, look, you need to look at your governance, right? You need to look at your decision making. That thing that happened 50 years ago, that's the bedrock of all of your risk, you know, and your risk appetite, we're in a different world now. So you really do need to kind of strip it back and start to ask questions, and feel free to challenge how your organizations work and why.
Thank you, Simon. We have another question.
Salam alaikum. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, panel. I was really interested to see this conversation, and being an ex-military person, I got flashbacks this morning when you were talking about where all these acronyms come from. You know, I remember living my life by acronym, and part of my military career was very much based on understanding people's body language. So I followed a guy called Alan Peace. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Alan, Greg, and very much on positive thinking. And also going through a lot of volatility in some of the work that I sort of undertook. One of the biggest problems that organisations face is embracing that change. And I was just interested in how you would suggest the strategies that we're talking about adapting here in a VUCA sort of world, how we can implement them to ensure that they stick within corporate world.
Nell, you want to?
Nell, would you like to take that?
Yeah, of course. So positive leadership is actually one of the tools when we come to the change in the organization. And positive leadership is based on positive psychology, but then we say, okay, the first one is, of course, having the common vision and picking everyone else. Like already Abdulaziz mentioned, and some other people mentioned, okay, like, do we have one vision? And also about negotiation, like if we have one vision, then we'd find a way to talk. And the other one is actually communication. Obviously, how I talk to myself, we talk about internal communication, is absolutely important for leaders, because there is a ripple effect and we leak our emotions all the time. In fact, if a manager has bad mood, it takes 7 minutes that this bad mood goes down the organization to his team or even colleagues. And so how this team would perform and what the profit will be in the end of the day at this organization if the manager is not at his best. So that's actually communication with myself, and then of course how do I communicate with my team? I mean, body language, choosing words. Like I met also some people today in the morning. In the business card, there was kind of chief inspiration officer. So like, that's really cool. I mean, that's already communication. And this is how we start. Maybe starting a little bit of positive vibes here and there. And then of course, feeding this to the team, and it's contagious, right? So it's good spread. And then of course, it's maybe incremental changes, but sooner or later, it will make big change. And I'm not talking just like, okay, some theory here. There are scientific-based research. 200% increase is possible through the implementation of positive leadership. And this also been proven through universities in Austria. And if someone interested could Google that anytime. And yeah, so there is, for example, one aspect.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah,
oh, we have another
definitely
one?
a great question.
Oh.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that a little bit. You hit the nail on the head as far as communication, and I wanted to give a concrete example. So I'm hired to complete transformation for large companies on the business process side and on the digital technology. So I come in as an umbrella between project management and technology, and basically a bilingual of corporate America, right? Speak a little tech, speak a little business. And what I would highlight, it is 100% words, right? So in our regular personal lives, we use words like problems and issues, right? And that actually triggers things for us from our childhood, from our experiences. We use problems and issues at home. So in project management, the words that we use, we say risk mitigation. And you instantly are able to sit at a large table with a lot of people. And when you say risk, it's not as triggering, right? And it allows us to say, tell me what's going on, and let's find out ways to proactively get in front of that, right? In project management, if it's an issue, it means it's already happened, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're just documenting it. System's down. However, risk, this is an opportunity to come out with new, better ideas. And those, and taking into consider your choice of words, really change the dynamics and reduces that amplification of emotion and allows us to move forward and focus on the innovation. So, I just wanted to make sure to add a little bit of a tip of what we can specifically do.
Can I add one more thing to that question before you ask your question? Apologies to hold you. I'm just going to ask you something. Are you a person that likes to feel comfortability most of the time, or someone that would like to feel uncomfort?
Yes. We want to pick it up on video, though. Can you pass him the mic, please?
I think I was saying I'm a person who embraces risk, understood and controlled and acceptable risk in all aspects of my life, be that as a person starting my own businesses or my current role now. So I guess you could say, in short answer long, yes, I do like to live sort of on the uncomfortable side of things.
That's amazing, because again, that's going to take us to you don't have that fear to change. The comfort zone is a zone for people where they know everything, no challenges, they know everyone, they know the places, everything's, I'm used to this area. There's no development in the comfort zone. But the moment you get out of this comfort zone based on your own choice, and we're going to come back to that, you're not going to feel that comfortability, because there is no comfort in the development zone. And as long as you're not feeling that kind of comfortability, that means that you're growing, that you're developing, that you're extending, that you're expanding your knowledge, then you're in the right path. Long ago, it was a very slow pace of things moving ahead. So you can see someone who's been in this job for 30 years, 40 years, 60 years up till he died, and maybe his son has inherited the same thing. Right now, even on a resume or something, if someone is moving 6 months, 1 year, he's checking something. It's not anymore a flaw in your resume. So what I'm trying to highlight here is that the change is inevitable. And to change is hard. Not to change these days is even harder. Because I'd rather to face and grow and change and thrive at my own choice, in my own space, in my own timing, with my own resources, rather than having that change forced at me. And again, communication plays here a role. If it was forced, and it's happening, a long time ago there was no mobiles, we used to live our lives normally. Right now, and the question before was, what's your number? Today the question is, do you have a mobile? Right now the question is, what's your number? So it is happening either ways. You need to accept, be agile is the key word here. You need to have that kind of resilience, and the agility is the key word here in order to just get out of that VUCA world, if that answers your question.
Thank you. Okay, next question.
Thank you. I'm from India, and India supposedly be the largest populated country in the world today, and even having the largest diaspora. Which means that along with that, it comes many challenges for us in terms of a cross-border, cross-sector communications and things. And I heard about a question on negotiation. Why are we not negotiating? So the question here is that how is that environment of making them feel safe when it comes to crucial conversations or communications like this? And how will we be able to make people comfortable in talking about different aspects which are controversial probably, but important to discuss about it. And that's what we call it as crucial conversations. So my question is, when it comes to cross-border, cross-sector aspects, what are the things to be taken care of, not only just from an Indian perspective, but from a global perspective?
Take that. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
I was going to give a good example. I really love the way you said kind of comfortable, because if there basically a lot of stuff comes down to fear, right? And it's not a word that you use a lot, but people's reluctance to change, fear is kind of like stands in front of a lot of us. And I used to work with a very powerful kind of boss, very inspirational, and he said to me, "Si, why is it no one tells me that something is going to go wrong?" Right? And then until it happens. And I said, because you lose your rag, right? You go mad. If someone brings you bad news, right, then you go, you're shouting, you're throwing stuff around, physically throwing papers on the floor. So why would you want to do that? You don't want to do that. And I think as leaders, some of the best leaders I know are the people that are absolutely cool with failure, right? They're asking questions. They show vulnerability. I don't know what that means. And acronyms, I don't know what that acronym means. What do you mean? And so just allowing people to be comfortable to make a mistake is absolutely critical. And just on the change thing, where you want to be. If you're not where you want to be, you can't do the same thing, right? The gap between where you are and where you need to get to is change, right? You have to all be doing different things. But the reason why the people at the coalface who are doing the work, all the people that work for you, it's fear that stops them from changing, right? So you've got to make it comfortable, and you've got to explain it to them in real terms as to what it really means for them, and you've got to be empathetic to their concerns. Greg? Oh.
No, I will speak about rather than your question. You're finished? I will go back to the first element of our topic. I forgot the first element. Volatility. Okay. As a leader, to go out from this circumstances, you need two things. First, clear vision. And when you build up this vision, trust yourself, trust your ability. The trap for some leaders went in is depending on the consultant ability and forgot themselves. Believe me. From my previous experience with my leader, one day we sat with the first one of the big four for the consultant to set up the strategic plan. This company was nominated from the board, and we had the first meeting with them. They start their presentation. At the middle of the presentation, my CEO stopped them and thanked them about what they have said, but he grabbed the board and write 3 goals and said to them, please challenge these goals and prove these goals is incorrect. You have 2 weeks and come back to me. After 2 weeks, the CEO of the consultant company started the talking, and he raised his hat and said, we agreed with your goals, and we bought a new business plan for the next 10 years. Please, depend on your ability. You are a human being like them. This is my point. And the second point, build a smart team with you. If you build a smart team, they will direct you to achieve your goals.
Thank you very much. And I'll just dovetail right onto the back of making people feel comfortable. There are times that truly in a negotiation, you do not want to make someone feel comfortable. That's why I said when you're negotiating with individuals, it depends on the strategy you use, the body language gestures you emit, because a negotiation is about control, as in all aspects of life. Regardless of not to whether you realize it, everyone is trying to control something, be it the environment that they're in. And thus, as we control the flow of a negotiation, we don't want someone to feel comfortable. We do want them to feel comfortable at different times in the negotiation. And that's how we move towards a successful outcome, be it perceived by both people, or if you want to be perceived as the winner and allow the other person to feel as though she or he has lost, hey, you're positioning yourself for the next time you're in an engagement with that individual. Did I see
I
another
want to take
question?
him back, if you don't mind, Greg. I want to take him back to his question, just to display how you reflect and how do you do the self-talk. When he said, when we have a crucial negotiation, define crucial. Why did you perceive it and give it that kind of adjective? Why do you think it is crucial? You don't have the mic. Because normally, and we're going to wrap up. Yeah.
Crucial conversation is a situation when, and it's actually a training which I was part of, and it's a book as well. It's called Art of Crucial Conversation. So what happens is there are times when it is, as I said, conflicting, maybe controversial. It could be in relationships, personal or professionals, wherein you want to talk something very critical. It's crucial, but it's difficult to talk at times. It's difficult to negotiate and reach to a win-win scenario.
Again, if I'm not interrupting you, it is your perception.
No.
It is-
I
it
am
is
not
your
talking
perception.
about my perception. It
the
is about
person's.
Yeah, I understood that. It's not about the perception of it. It's about the exact situation. So let me give you an example. In a scenario where you know that your junior is not performing well, but you need that position or that person to be inside the organization because your work may not happen accordingly otherwise. So how do you talk to that person, telling them about the real facts, removing out the story from it, and that's how the fact, share the facts, tell the story of how we feel. That's where the perception comes in. So it's not about perception of mine, it's about the facts, removing the perception of mine, and then sharing it, this is my perception or a feeling, what do you have to say about it? So you're making them feel comfortable and in a safe environment, and you probably reinforce few things which they have done good around that. So that makes them comfortable that I'm not going to lose my job. Probably that person would not open up because they feel that they will lose their job if they accept the mistake.
Yeah, but again,
that's what I'm talking about, the situation.
We have 2 minutes to wrap up. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the thing is, again, it's back to the concept of comfortability. Why do you expect that everything you're going to hear in this life is going to be amazing, positive, lovely, la la la? We don't live in la la land. I can tell you that you've got cancer, God forbid, and these are facts. But the way and the approach I'm going to say to you, and the way you're going to receive it and try to live with it and thrive afterwards for God knows how long, this is what makes VUCA, whether magnified element or just something that happened.
I know we are
Jessica,
running
real
out of time.
fast. We have 1 minute and 20 seconds left, so let's have a quick round.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one quick thing in response to that. I definitely encourage you to look at change management and the ADKAR method. When it comes to as leaders, we need to meet people where they are. It's not about our perception. So that would be what I would echo to you, is meet people where they are at their point on their journey. And the other part is to look into ADKAR, which is about creating awareness and desire to want to change.
We have 47 seconds.
One word from each one of us to advise audience
Exactly. Go ahead.
how to overcome VUCA.
Go ahead.
One word.
Hello?
Smart people around you.
No.
I would say invest in psychological safety of your people.
there is a need for mental health in the workplace.
I'd say look for the obvious person that tends to take the energy out of the room when they talk and no one says, and try and do something about that.
Perfect. I'm repeating this again, agility and resilience. Greg, we're wrapping up with you.
And remember, you're always negotiating, because whatever you do today sets the stage for tomorrow. Time's up. Thank you all for coming today.